history at the beginning of metal, and that sort of blows it out into the entire Justice League extravaganza where everybody sort of goes and finds out that.
All right, is this thing on? Hello everyone, and welcome to another live stream. This is Kitty gone rogue with the iPad, and we're going to take a look at the Court of the Dead, and we are starting with Odium, who gets his very own podium because he is so huge. Here's his little name tag. Odium, Reincarnated Rage Maquette. Before we get started, if you guys want to head over to sideshow.com/Comic-Con, there's a little code thing at the top, and I've been told that if you type RISE, R-I-S-E, you get $5 in Sideshow rewards. So you want to get on that because it's only going to last about 10 minutes. So sideshow.com/Comic-Con, and you type in RISE, you get $5 in Sideshow rewards points. That's an important phrase to the Court of the Dead, so it should also be important to you. In order to get $5 in Sideshow rewards. All right, so this is Odium. He was part of our online Comic-Con, and we also featured him on a live stream with Tom Gilliland and Casey Love. Odium is the champion of the faction of Flash, and I don't want that booth in the background. There we go. Odium is the champion of the faction of Flash, and he fights for Queen Gethsemane. He's got these massive weapons on his wrists. And we actually saw him without his mask on the live show, but now he's got his mask on. He looks pretty scary. He's got the Flesh faction insignia on both his belt and his mask, showing that his loyalty is to the Queen. And Tom Gilliland teased that there is some intense mystery behind this figure that we'll be finding out sooner as more of the court story unfurls. He's got nails sticking out of his back. That's terrifying. So if any of you are just joining us and you want to join the Underworld Rising, you should go to sideshow.com/Comic-Con and enter in the code bar at the top, RISE, R-I-S-E, and net $5 in Sideshow rewards. That's pretty awesome. I'd pledge my loyalty to the Underworld for $5 in Sideshow rewards. All right, so over here, we've got actually kind of our publishing side of Court of the Dead. This, open to the page of Cleopsis, is the Chronicle of the Underworld, a book that debuted last year at San Diego Comic-Con, 2016, and it features everything you need to know about the Underworld. This section is about the faction of Flesh. There are 3 factions in the Underworld, and if you want to find out which faction you belong to, go to courtofthedead.com. You can be in spirit, bone, or flesh. Everybody has a little bit of each faction in them, but it all matters which one you let guide you. I personally am a member of the spirit faction, kind of go with the flow. Bone faction is more rules oriented, and flesh is all about changing. This is the Comic-Con exclusive puzzle, which is available at Project Raygun, booth 1028, featuring art by Alex Horley. This is called A Matter of Life and Death. It's gorgeous artwork. You can see how Shard and Death are not quite sure what to make of each other yet, but they both know that they need each other if the Underworld is to rise against the Celestials. And we also have the Court of the Dead deluxe hardcover journal featuring the Mask of the All-Taker. And underneath this, there's a deluxe hardcover sketchbook. And this is the comics omnibus, Grave Tales. This should be available on our website now, and it collects a bunch of the comics from the Court of the Dead website, as well as some new stuff. So if you're interested in reading more about these characters in a visual format, there's Malavestros. You're going to want to pick up Grave Tales. So that's the Court of the Dead publishing. Oh, and look, it's Malavestros himself, Death's Chronicler Fool. He knows a little bit about everybody, and this is him displayed with his exclusive swap-out face, showing the Fool's true face. Okay, so this scroll is absolutely insanely detailed, and he's telling, the story that he is telling of the celestial war between heaven and hell is actually coming to life. And there's all this cool underworld script. I have no idea what it means, but I'm sure it tells the tale. Look at that, there's a demon, there's an angel. He is so incredibly detailed, and it's very Shakespearean. The Shakespearean fool character sometimes knows a little bit more than they let on, so I can't wait to see what more we learn from Malavestros as the court unfurls. This is the Relic Ravlatch Quest Knight life-size bust. He was a former art study, but he is being developed as a product. He's a member of the Bone faction. He's pretty cool. And he's also the face of our Comic-Con exclusive pins. If you take the Underworld quest and you visit Han Cholo, Badali Jewelry, Project Raygun, and Insight Editions and get a stamp at each one of those stops, you can get a pin featuring Relic Ravlatch. This is the new Shard statue. This is Shard Faithbearer's Fury. And this was her before she encountered the Underworld, when she was still a Templar Knight. If you see behind her, there's the other Shard, and they've got the same scar on their eye, and I believe they have the exact same sword, Faithbearer, in their right hands. That's a pretty cool story element.
If you go to all these places, you get a stamp at each one.
And there is Shard Mortal Trespasser.
You're a big fan. You can have it for free.
There we go. Sorry, something went wrong with my screen. This is Shard descending kind of into the Underworld, and she's not quite sure of her quest here, but she's determined to survive it. Her cape is posable with wire, and that ethereal blue that runs throughout so many of these bases, it gets more and more prominent as Shard steps down into the Underworld. So I think that's a really cool piece of her story. And this is Death, the All-Taker himself. This is Death, Master of the Underworld premium format figure. Now, it's kind of strange to think that Death, a Reaper, would be the hero of our story, but with Court of the Dead, he's kind of the only true neutral who has his head on his shoulders and is ready to fight against the Celestials. He wears the Underworld United signet, which there's a bigger version of that over the booth, and it assembles the symbols of the flesh and bone and spirit factions. All right, guys, if you haven't already, you've got 3 minutes left on this code. Go to sideshow.com/Comic-Con, and in the code bar at the top, enter the word RISE, R-I-S-E, for $5 in Sideshow rewards. Because Death wants you to join the Underworld Rising. So this is Relic Ravlatch. Again, we saw him over here. But this is him as the Paladin of the Dead, back in his brave questing days. He's got this really cool lantern with that ethereal blue. And there's something ghastly running all over his base. We actually saw Ravlatch as a fresh output on the Sideshow live show with Jesse and Anna. He also wears the Underworld United signet. He's pretty cool. So this is what, if you remember him, this is what he looks like, all put together and painted. Back there, that is Demethyl, the Reaper General, legendary scale figure. So he's actually a bit bigger than our premium format statues. He is part of the military, which enables the life of the Underworld characters. He protects them, and the thin dead line of military keeps back the Celestials until the Underworld is ready. So now we've got some legendary scale busts. And this is Oglavale of the Spirit faction. He's pretty cool. He comes in a graphite edition as well. And he's got a Spirit faction base, and that's his Blind Justice mask down there as well. Oglavale has a removable mandible. I'm not going to take it off because he's displayed so nicely with it. But you can remove the mandible, and then if you have the Blind Fury mask, or Blind Justice mask, I'm sorry, you can display that with him as well. And back there we have the Zyle legendary scale bust, and she's pretty awesome. We also saw her on a Sideshow live stream. She's got a bone base, and her headdress is gorgeous. She's actually got jewels and trinkets hanging off of it. And you can see it's the subtitle is The Resolve of Bone. You can see how stoic she is and how there's so much expression even though she doesn't have actual eyes. She is an osteomancer, and she's very powerful, and that's why she's the leader of the Bone faction. Another member of the Bone faction, this is a newer one that we've, Sheev was an art study before, but she was such a fan favorite that we developed her into product. This is Sheev the Pathfinder. She is the Arbiter of Bone, who is in charge, she's a Nethergeist in charge of making sure that Death has a plentiful soul harvest, and so I think that's what she's doing right here, is with that ethereal blue once more. She's locating a spot for Death to collect souls. So cool. That goat head. Sheev is one of the awesome female characters from the Court of the Dead line. Back there, this is one of our life-size replicas. This is Death's Dawn of Mortals mask. It's a life-size replica, part of a new line of these pieces that we were doing that were former art studies, but they're now being developed into product because we're expanding people's access to the Court of the Dead characters. And this speaking of adapting new formats, this is our debut of the Prestige Statuette format, featuring Xyle, Gethsemane, and Kier. Kier is known as Valkyrie's Revenge, and you can see each of these has a her faction's signet on the front of her base, as well as some other creatures that really make these, they're 9-inch PVC figures, they make these a scene, an epic scene of story. And so here, the Valkyrie has a slaughtered angel on her base that she is dragging by its wing. Gethsemane, Queen's Conjuring, is working her necromancy magic, and she is creating something beautiful and terrifying for the Flesh faction, and she's got these little monsters cowering at her feet. And then Xyle is Osteomancer's Vision. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Xyle has a cat named Riaz, and we all love Riaz. So this is really cool seeing Xyle at work with her osteomancy. Right. Each faction has its own type of magic: osteomancy, necromancy, and spirit mandering. That's pretty cool. So this is another one of our life-size replica masks. This is Death, Face of the All-Taker. Look at that. That is pretty epic. That's the same mask that is on the Death Supreme life-size figure. Now this may be a familiar face, but she's in a new form. This is Galavarb. Galavarb used to have a more aquatic form for when she was in the mortal realm, spying for the Queen, and now she's taken a new form and she's fully immersed in the underworld. And this is Galavarb, Eyes of the Queen. The Flesh faction is all about change. So every time you see Galavarb or every time you see Gethsemane and you think you have them figured out, they've changed magically through necromancy to suit their new purpose. So Galavarb's new statue is a perfect example of that. Now, we've got Kier, Death's Warbringer. This is the second Kier premium format figure. She is covered in blood, absolutely furious with her harvest. That is an angel's head that she is holding, severed. And the mask is removable. I'm not sure if it's going to be a swap-out portrait or actually just a mask you can take on and off, but you can see Kier's face underneath, full of raw fury. She's got angel wings on her base as she takes revenge against the Celestials. Sounds pretty cool. Then we've got the next Gethsemane premium format figure. She was an online Comic-Con pre-order. She's actually available now. This is Gethsemane, Shaper of Flesh. This is the Queen as she works her necromantic magic. Ooh, necromantic, I like that. The exclusive swap-out arm is what you're seeing here, which features her knife Sliss. I think I said that right. She's got a new new headdress piece, and she's got that ethereal blue, but also that Flesh Faction red magic, and it's swirling around her feet. If you're at the Sideshow booth this weekend, you'll actually be able to see, we have a cosplayer, very talented, named Miss Chrissy Lynn, and she is dressed as Gethsemane. It's not exactly either version of the premium format figure, but a happy amalgam of both, because the queen, as I said, is always changing. And she has new tattoos on her back, as some people have noticed. This is Poxel the Scourge. He is also a Nethergeist, like Sheev, but he's a little bit more intense than she is. He feeds off of the etheria and emotion of the souls he harvests. He's very avian, and he's got these cool trinkets hanging off of his back. He's also a member of the Flesh Faction, even though he kind of looks like he should be in the Bone Faction, but looks can be deceiving in the underworld. You can find out more about Poxel and Sheev and all of these characters in the Chronicle of the Underworld. I actually had to give myself a refresher with the Chronicle book. I love reading that thing. It's so epic. So Poxel was in there. This is another one of our life-size replicas. This is the Crown of the Queen. This is Gethsemane's mantelpiece. And it comes with a mask as well. This is closer to the first iteration of her, not the Shaper of Flesh premium format figure. This is Cleopsis, Death's ambitious daughter, who was sent to the mortal realm to learn more about their world, and she grew in power and had a massive empire that worshipped her, but when the Celestials of heaven and hell both saw that she was getting too powerful, they kind of wanted Death to put a tamper on that. So Death brought her back and stripped her of all her authority in the underworld. But now she takes refuge in the Queen's court. She's got these really cool scarab beetles down at her feet, and all of this ornate cloth. The little flags on her arms can be posed with wire. And she also has a swap-out portrait that has her masked face that represents how beautiful she was in the mortal realm. And I think she's still beautiful in the underworld. It's that terrifying kind of beauty that they all have. She's reaching out with her snake in hand, reminiscing of her lost domain. This is Oglavale. Oglavale is the executioner. He's kind of feared throughout the underworld, but he's very, very respected in the Spirit Faction because he's a very neutral source, and he is in charge of executing souls. That is kind of a dangerous job in the underworld, but he does it well, and he balances judgment very well. His exclusive was his Scratch the Hound, so it's Og and his dog. We all love Scratch. He's pretty cute. And this is the same Oglavale as the legendary scale bust. And now, I'm gonna back it up real quick, because look at that. This is our Death Supreme life-size figure. This guy is massive. Imagine having him in your home. This is the true vision of the underworld rising into the mortal realm. So this is so much more detailed than the premium format figure, but the premium format figure has all of this detail, but this you can actually see up close, just like that. All the fabric. He has a mixed media piece. He's wearing his All-Taker mask, and he's holding his massive scythe. He's got the Underworld United signets, as you can see.
Collaborative, that's good.
If you're here at Comic-Con and you take a selfie with Death and you tag it Death SDCC 2017, you're entered to win the premium format figure. And you can also get a cool lanyard and Court of the Dead pin for your holding your Comic-Con badge. So you can get the Ravlatch pin, and you can get the lanyard, and you can enter to win the Death premium format figure. And now we've got one more podium, excuse me, featuring two other fan favorites. This is Zyle, Osteomancer's Vision. No, the Great Osteomancer, yes. This is the Great Osteomancer. And once more, she is working her magic. This is actually available for order now on our website.
Let's go.
There she is. She represents everything that the Bone faction believes in: rigidity and order and seeing past the end of all things. Because you'd think the underworld is the end of all things, but it's not. It's so much more. The underworld is just the beginning. Look at, oh, whoa there. Not even quite sure what that is, but that's pretty cool. And if you see all around here, those are the exclusive coins that you get if you beat the dealer when you play blackjack at Project Raygun. If you don't beat the dealer, you get a really cool holographic Malavestros coin, and you can come back again and try and beat the dealer another time. So really, there's no excuse not to go play, because you get stuff, whether you win or lose. All right, so this guy we get asked about a lot. This is Mortigal, the Risen Reaper General. He was also an art study, but people loved him so much that he became a product. And so he's going to be a premium format figure up for order later in the year. I don't know the exact time, so don't quote me on that. Here's Mortigal. Let's see if you guys can see that epic armor. The thing that's amazing about this one is that his armor is very dark, and he's a dark figure overall, but he's not monochromatic. He really pops. Oh my gosh. And look at this sword. What? I can't even get that all in the frame. There we go. That's crazy. So this guy is a Reaper General, and he fights alongside Demethyl, but he's kind of a young upstart. He's a little bit too brash, but he's pretty cool. Look at that. This base even has kind of like fossils in it, which I didn't think there were fossils in the underworld. I thought everyone was undead and alive. Ooh, he's got cool wings on his pauldrons. Do you see those kind of arms hanging down? That's fascinating. I'm gonna have to ask someone about that. Look at that. And his armor actually tells the story of celestial warfare. I mean, there's skeletal warriors fighting on it. And that's so cool. So that is Mortigal, Risen Reaper General. And I think that just about does it for our Court of the Dead section. If you're here this weekend, be sure to come and pick up one of the cards that you can get and get stamped. Oh wow, that's really cool. You can get it stamped and complete your Underworld quest. And get the Relic Radlatch pin. And keep an eye on all of the new stuff on our website. All of this should be up for preview now on our website, if it's not already up for pre-order. And including those prestige statuettes, you can RSVP for more information. Just go to the preview page. And tell us that you want to RSVP, and we'll say, all right, we'll send you information as soon as it's available. And you can RSVP for specific products you're looking for. So if you're a Bone faction member and you want to look for Xyle instead of the Queen, then you can RSVP for the Xyle prestige statuette. But between you and me, you should just RSVP for all of them, because this Court of the Dead stuff is cool. And with each new piece, there's new story added. So I'm going to end on a shot of Death, because he's crazy. Don't forget to come take a selfie with him if you are at the show, because that's the best way to pledge your allegiance to the Underworld Rising. All right. See you in the crypt. Thanks for joining us.